Hey everybody, this is Brad from Johnson Small Engines. We're going to be disassembling a 8 horsepower Tecumseh carburetor today. I like this one because it's an adjustable one, which we're going to put an adjustable kit back in. Alright, so we're going to go over to the tag on the engine so I can show you what model this is from. Because there's so many different models of engines and so many different carb kits. Not a lot of them, but enough. Okay, so this one here is an HMSK 80. Alright, I'm trying to put a little light in for myself so I can read it, and then for you guys out there, hopefully you'll be able to see this. HMSK 80, which is an 8 horsepower Tecumseh, and the spec number what you need is 15555. There's 3 5s. 1555525S. So this is the one that I'm working on. Basically, you need the model number here and the spec number here, and that's what you're going to need to go online to check out your the parts lookup and find the right carburetor kit for this. For your machine. So we're gonna go over to tray here where I rebuild them. This is this is a high school tray. In fact, I think I got this back when I was even younger than that. Acquired it. I like these trays because you don't lose parts. They don't fall off the edges. All right, this is the carburetor, and this is an adjustable carburetor, so you can adjust this one and this one. This is a high speed down here, and this is the low speed up here. All right, this is a very nice carburetor. Some of you will have a non-adjustable carburetor. That is going to be a different video. I'll make one up for that one. You have different parts inside. You have no adjustable carburetors. But when you look up the carb kit, you will find that this one here, this is a 632347. This is the carburetor that is for this 8 horsepower Tecumseh carb that we're working on. It comes with all the parts needed to rebuild it. I'm going to open this up so you guys can see it. Try not to lose all the parts because there are some small parts in here that you don't want to lose. And there is this is a nice little instruction sheet on what you're supposed to do with the certain ones. This is the seat when you're talking about pressing the seat in for the needle and seat, and it tells you which way the seat goes, up or down. So just read your instructions. All right. So we have very small spring right here that goes with your float. All right, you don't lose these little guys. You have a washer, your pin for the float, your needle which goes into that spring right there. You have your seat, 1 O-ring, and you have 2 jets. Now this is the main jet here. The main jet's right here. That's nice to have. These are 2 covers that you can take off to clean the carburetor in certain areas. I tend, through all the years of doing this, I tend not to take them out because we don't need to. I use an ultrasonic cleaner. Now, if you're not using an ultrasonic cleaner, you may want to take these out and punch the new ones back in again. And basically, I'll show this when I take it apart. But the one on the outside of the carburetor, which is this little guy here, this little guy right here, is going to be this guy right here. And how I used to do it is drill a small hole in there and use a pick and pop it out. Now they get to be pretty hard to get out sometimes, but what you're trying to get to is the inside of this carburetor, which is right inside here. There's very small holes. There's 3 of them usually right down in here. I don't know if you can see this or not. You should be able to see that. Okay, there's 3 holes. Now what I do is I found out that this little particular part, it's a piece of wire, and I got it from a wire brush, believe it or not. And I do lose these all the time, but they'll fit right inside here perfectly, and they're not too big and not too small, and basically you just pop them in there and clean out all 3 holes, and then you're clean. You can just pop it in there. Now when you put it in ultrasonic cleaner, whatever particles that are in there will actually be cleaned out, and basically they just come out of the holes and everything's clean. I have no problems with any kind of dirt being in there. But as far as taking this apart, this is the carburetor. Here's your adjuster for the high speed on the bottom. This right here is very nice to have, if you have it. Basically it's a drain. When the carburetor's sitting like this and you're going to drain your fuel out, you can just push this. It's a spring-loaded button. You push it up. It's a mess because it's going to get all over your fingers. But when you're either running this dry to store it, you can push this up. It'll drain all the fuel in the carburetor bowl, which is an awesome thing. And if not, I recommend running your machines periodically, but in this area we don't use them much, and some people like to drain them or run them dry. When you run them dry, a lot of times you can't get all the fuel out of the carburetor bowl, so this gives you the option to be able to do that. Not many carburetors are like this today. They're all going non-adjustable. This is going away. They're not even on the bottom of them. Non-adjustable means that there is no longer this adjustable jet. It's just a bolted jet to the bottom of the bowl, and that's a different video. But as far as getting this thing apart, doesn't need many tools. Pretty easy. Just a regular slot head screwdriver, I have a nice tool from Tecumseh that I got many years ago. It enables you to put the seat in, adjust the bowl. The part number here is it looks like it's either a 6 or an 8. I can barely read that. 6870-377. So I think that might be an 8. 870377. Google that online, Tecumseh tool, and you can put the seat on top of that and push it into the carburetor. This is the float. This is a tool right here where you can use it to adjust the float. The other end of it has a nice little kind of a pick on the end of it where you can pull the seat out with. This is a very nice tool. Got it from Tecumseh. I think you can still get them. It's a really nice tool if you're doing a lot of carburetors. I mean, this is not for everybody. You don't need it, but it's nice to have. And then 7/16 wrench to take the bottom nut off, which is your adjustable high speed. So we're going to take this off. This is going to take off your bolt of your carburetor. This is also going to have a gasket on the bottom of it, which you have in your kit. So the kit comes with the gasket right here and your new jet. So you technically can throw these away if you get the carb kit. I will keep them around for parts or whatever, but it's probably the jets have holes in them. You know, you can try to clean them, but that's why the kit comes with a new one. Now, taking a bowl off sometimes can be sticky or not sticky. Now, this one came off pretty easily. Okay, so this one has a whole bunch of crud in it, as you can see. It's actually had some water in it too, so it's not doing too good. So we're gonna put this in the ultrasonic cleaner also and clean that up. And there's another, you can get the rubber ring, the O-ring for that. It's not in the kit, unfortunately. You have to look it up separately, but you can go online on the parts lookup and look that up. And then you have to take this off. I think I did a video on how to take these off. A little tricky for me to do, but I get them done. All right, we're gonna clean that up. Then you have your gasket, which this gasket here comes with the kit. Just discard that one. You don't need that. The new one's over here, so it has a new one here. The float. Now the float's gonna sit. It's not supposed to sit that high. It's actually supposed to sit lower than that. So as I say, the needle or the needle valve seat has blown up. It basically got fat, and that's why that float is sitting up as high as it is. It's not supposed to sit up that high. All right, you're gonna see, well, on another video maybe, it's just about taking them apart, but the rod here that holds the float in should just come straight out. And I try to keep them separate to the new parts so you don't get them interchanged. And then when you take the float out, if you're careful, it should come out with, well, it just dropped off the float. All right, and it's sitting somewhere on the carburetor. Here it is. All right, so there's your needle. You're gonna replace that. We have a new one in the kit. And it also comes with a new spring that you're going to connect. Now the float, I'll probably put this in the cleaner too, just to get some of this dirt off it. If you have a brass float, this one is plastic. If you have a brass float, shake them and listen. Make sure you don't hear any fuel inside them. That's also another problem that happens through time. I've not seen a plastic one actually sink, but the copper ones do. They get holes, pinholes in them, and they fill up with fuel. This one, there's nothing in it, so we're good. We're just going to clean it up. All right, now the seat is down inside there. I'm not sure if you can see that. It's right down here. And the tool that we have here, all right, can go right down here and pick the seat out. You have a seat with the kit. All right, so there's the seat. There's the old seat. And the old seat, as I said, blew up, which means it gets fatter. The seat actually gets fatter, and then it just doesn't. It's sitting the fuel, the bowl. It's sitting up too high, and then we have to put the new one in. And on another video, I'm putting it back together again. Maybe I can show you how to set these things up. It's not that hard, just a little bit below level. Like when the float is sitting, it should be sitting a little bit below level, which is most of the time pretty darn good. Now this one was sitting up above level, and it was a little tricky. With the video, you might not be able to see that. And I'm sure there's videos out there that show it. Tecumseh might actually have a video out there. All right, now here's the other Welch plug. This Welch plug basically goes into your primer hole line right here, and I just blow compressed air through that, and it blows up everything, and there's a hole right here where all this contaminants will come out of. But you can pull this off, and it's in the kit right here. All right, you can take that off. I do not take these off. There's no need. I clean them out very well just by blowing air into the primer hole here. And then, like I said, you can drill them, whatever you have to do to get them out. But you got to be careful if there's any aluminum from drilling them. You got to make sure this guy gets real cleaned up before you put it back together again. Now on the side is the screw, the low speed screw, and that does come. The jet comes with the kit, but you don't get the screw. So not the screw. You don't get the spring. So you got to make sure that you do not lose the spring. And there's also a metal washer that's inside here that you don't want to lose. It's very easy to lose. There's an O-ring in this kit. Okay, see that O-ring? That O-ring goes on the end of this screw, and you'll see that there's also a metal piece that's in here. Now, it's a little tricky to get this out. See now? You'll see the metal. Okay, the metal bar is still in here, I think. Alright, so there. Alright, I'll get the pick here. Brass metal ring. Brass metal ring goes on. You're going to put the spring over the new jet adjusting screw. It's kind of a jet too, but put the spring over the new one, and then you're going to put the brass washer over it. Now the O-ring, which I said was in the kit, is going to go on after that. Now the O-ring's in here, so this O-ring's got to come out, and you can use a pick and it should come out. There it is. These guys get pretty smushed. Alright, and there's your O-ring. So the new O-ring is over here. Okay, now I'm going to put this all together. Put the new O-ring on. Now what I do is I'll put it all on first. I've had some of my guys that work for me cross-thread these when you go back in. Now I'm not going to put it back in because I don't want to get dirt on all this. I don't want to get cruddy fuel on this. But what I've done is I put a little bit of lubricant, a little teeny bit of oil on this O-ring, just a little bit. And then it pushes in here a little bit nicer. But you just got to make sure, this is a fine threaded screw. You just got to make sure you do not over tighten it or cross thread it. You got to be careful. So if you don't think it's going in correctly, just pull it out and just a gentle push in there with a slot head screwdriver, and it should go in fairly easily. You can push this up as far as you can get it. That's pretty much how I do it. You can try putting the O-ring in first, and then you have to worry about the brass washer and everything not falling off when you're putting it in there. But you can also do that, I guess. But I just do it this way. It's easier for me to do it, and that's the way to go. So now this pretty much is the part as far as it's going to go. And I will clean out those holes right there, and then I'll put this in. What we have is an ultrasonic cleaner. So let me show you that. Alright, so here is my ultrasonic cleaner. Been using it for years. I have turned it on to get the heat up. I usually try to bake these things around 130, 135, and I'll put it in there for a half hour, 45 minutes, and basically it just goes into this container here. And then the other parts I can put in here that I need. Sometimes the non-adjustable carburetors have jets we put in there, and you're supposed to put them in a bag, some sort of bag, so you don't lose them at the bottom, of course, and then you just fill the bag up with this solution inside there. And basically I'll bake it, and we'll get it back together again, and I guess I'll come back and show you how to put it back together. Okay, so it's back out of the tank, and basically this is just what it looks like. It gets a little dark. I use the ultrasonic cleaner with simple green, basically is all I use to clean these with, and they come back pretty good. I took the bowl over to the bench, over to my vise here, to get these little rubber grommets, and I'm actually going to give you the part number. Let's go over to my bench again here and show you the part number. The part number for this washer, it does not come with this kit, which I think back in the day it did, but that kit, which is this kit right here, now granted this little brass guy here does not go with that kit, it doesn't come with the kit, but this gasket that's underneath this pin is going to be this gasket here, and this part number is a 27554, and that will give you the little gasket for the bowl. Alright, now I'm going to attempt to show you, hopefully this won't take too long, but the way I have to do it, being that I'm one-handed, is I put a little piece of pipe in here, a bar, that holds this from spring load, from pushing down. So now it won't push down, and there's a little teeny crevice, it's a little teeny gap that the spring has to be pushed down, the spring here has to be pushed down, and then you have to finesse the spring down and push that cap. And this is really hard to do for me. And you guys, if anybody has a quicker way of doing this, or there might be a special tool that would help, but you have to try to get the spring down out of the I just got it, here we go. Just pop the cap off of the rod. There's the cap. Okay, don't lose the spring. And then you have the rod that, by turning it upside down, will show you, shows you the little teeny gasket that comes off of here that we have to replace. And a lot of times you can get away with not replacing this, but when I do a carb job and it's going to a customer, I definitely want to do that gasket. Now I'm going to open up that, let's get this new gasket out. Put it on here. And we're going to try to button this back up. Getting it off was the hard part. Normally I can get them back on a little quicker. And I've had some circumstances where I'll put a little bit of oil on this too to help this slide on here as I'm having a little bit of a problem trying to get this. It's got to be super tight so it doesn't drip fuel. And definitely go OEM with the gasket. Okay, so we got to put that back in here. And then try to hold this up while I put it back on here. Don't lose that. So then you have the spring. Goes back on here. Now I tried to hold the spring down and then put the cap over. There it is. And it looks like that. There it is. Alright, so now it's back to brand new gasket on the inside of the bowl. Okay, it's a little tricky to do this, but it's definitely worth doing if you're doing the carb repair, just because the fact that you don't have to worry about that leaking. Alright, so then we come back over to the carburetor. And we're going to start putting it back together again. Now, the seat only goes in one way, and you have the smooth side, and you have the not so smooth side that has a little ridge on it. Now, the paperwork that comes with it shows you which way the seat goes inside first, or telling you to make sure that the inside goes in, that has a little ring around it. So if you get the Tecumseh tool, you can actually use the Tecumseh tool and put this on here. Now this is where I'll put a little bit of, you can use like Simple Green, any kind of a smooth lubricant that'll allow it to slide down. I put a little teeny bit, just a little bit of oil on it. And then you're going to insert it into the carburetor. Push down until you feel it bottom out. That one actually, there it is. And you almost have to do these a couple times to get a feel for it, but can't say exactly how far down that is. But you just feel it until it bottoms out. Now you can also use a drill bit, which I've done in the past, and you can just find a drill bit that's the size of the hole, and then very carefully, you have to make sure it only goes in one way. That seat only goes in one way. Read the instructions on how that seat goes in. It only goes in one way. So the seat's in, and we have just a few more things we have to wrap up here. Is that you have your new jet, your screw idle jet. You're gonna put the spring on it. Then you have to find your brass. Now you have to make sure you didn't lose your brass washer. Then the brass washer goes on it. And then your O-ring. And here's the O-ring, and I would suggest another little bit of lubrication. Just a little bit of, I put a little bit of oil, but you can use Simple Green or anything that's will dry up. Now the oil doesn't dry up, but I found that the oil definitely works a little better as far as getting these things to go in there. I'm trying to push it on so I have a little more thread sticking out the end here. Now this is where it gets tricky. You just don't want to cross thread it. So we're going to go into the low idle hole, and you just have to make sure you're pushing firmly in. And it's nice to do this by hand to get it started, so if you're cross threading you can kind of feel it before it happens. And I got to get myself a flathead screwdriver. Sorry about that. There we go. I got it started. You're going to take it all the way in, nice and easy, until you feel it stop. Okay. And it'll seat itself. And then I'll turn it a half, and then 1. And I'll leave it at 1. And that's the adjustment to the initial get-go. Turn it upside down. We have our float and our gasket. I usually put the gasket on first, just because the float is going to be going in there, and you don't want to have trying to push this gasket. The gasket's going to be pretty tight around here, because the new ones are nice and snug like they're supposed to be. This one's really tight. Now I'm using genuine Tecumseh. You know, everything says Tecumseh on it. You can use aftermarket stuff, but I've done it in the past and it doesn't work as well. The gaskets aren't as good. Now, as far as the needle, the new needle they have right here, and they give you a little spring. You can look at the old one to see how that spring goes. Here's the old one, and you want to make sure that you put the new spring on the way the old one was. Don't get them mixed up, but that's the new one right there. This is the old one. I'm going to put this out of the way. And that goes on your float, which is over here. So here's our float. Cleaned it up in the carb cleaner. And check to make sure it has no leaks. As you slide it over. And you're going to put the needle down in the hole where the seat is. Be careful it doesn't slide out of the way. And they give you a new pin. They also give you a new pin in the kit to put the pin in. And you have to kind of finesse this a little bit. Too much pin in. Alright, so let's just see. Now it's sitting up, for me it's sitting up a little bit high. It should be sitting a little bit lower in the front part here. So I'm going to move that down by very gently. And you're probably not going to be able to see this, but very gently pushing up on the bottom tab of the float. And it has lowered it. So it looks just about where it should be as far as me. Now, as far as the tool goes, you're supposed to, this tool, now I don't think the gaskets should be on here, but the tool, the flat part of this tool, it has two flat pieces, two flat parts. And you're supposed to be able to put that in here. And being that the rubber grommet, the rubber gaskets on here, it's kind of messing me up, but it's supposed to, float's supposed to sit right on there. And it does, and I've done this long enough that I can just do it by eye, but a little bit down in the front right here, that's pretty much where I want it to be. And this is how I've been doing it. I mean, you guys, if there's textbook, it might be a little bit different, but I've been doing it that way. Now, as far as the bowl goes, putting it back on, there's a recess here, and it sits up in the back here. Well, where it sits up in the back is where you want to put it with the, where the needle is, the needle valve area is. And so the open part is where the float is actually going to be down in on. So you want to make sure that you have the upper part of this bowl sitting right on the part where the needle and seat go in. You're going to put it straight down on top like that. Okay. And you kind of get it situated where it's going to be. Try to get it even on the gasket. This gasket's really thick. And I just messed up right there by pulling the gasket up. Takes a little doing, getting this thing even. Once you get it even, alright, then you want to, your last thing to put in is your main jet. And you do have a gasket for the main jet that comes with the kit. Alright. Make sure your bowl is going on evenly, and then you will tighten that down with 7/16 wrench until you'll feel it get very snug very quickly. And I'm pressing against the gasket right now, so it's taking a little bit. Now it just got real snug. Alright, so just check around and make sure you're even. Make sure your bowl is even against your carburetor, and that makes sure that you're sealing properly. And then for the initial adjustment for the valve, they come closed in the kit, so you basically, they're already closed, so you don't want to screw them in, you'll mess them up already. So when they're closed from the kit, you're going to open them 1.5 turns, so we got half, 1, 1.5. That's what I start the machine at. And then you have to adjust after you get the machine running and warmed up. You're going to adjust your low speed first, and then you're going to adjust your high speed, and that's how I'll do that. And pretty much that's how you put this rebuild kit, part number 632. 347, that's the part number for the carb kit for the adjustable carburetor, and that's a Tecumseh carburetor. And then that little gasket you need is right here, 27554. That is for the push button. That's when you can let off the gas out of your bowl if you're trying to store it, or just flush the carburetor through. You can actually do that too just by pushing that button. Okay, if everybody liked this, please give me the thumbs up, and please subscribe, and thanks for watching.